Welcome to Jesus.Plus.Life. If this is your first time watching with us, we want you to know that Jesus.Plus.Life is all about bringing you conversations and topics that we are all walking through. You are not alone in any struggle or question you might have. We are a community of ladies who love Jesus and want just a little bit more joy in our lives. This week we are continuing in part 2 of a conversation we started last week with Sonny and Katelyn. They continue in the conversation about how to be a biblical wife. Be sure to hit that share button as we get started. Here is this week's conversation.
When you are around a group of women or you're out in public and you can tell that you're not around other Christian women, you can just feel that there's a different sense, a different scene around you. Do you feel like you have to act a certain way around them so that you kind of scream, I'm a Jesus girl, I'm timid, I kind of am angelic, this is how I act compared to you? Or do you feel like you can still display that you're a Jesus person even if you're continuing to act just bold and happy as you are? Do you have to draw back and kind of be timid, I guess, to convince other women that you're a Jesus girl and you follow the rules?
Right. And I don't think anybody is attracted to people who follow the rules.
Yeah.
Like, I'm rebellious enough, that doesn't even do anything for me. I'm like, oh, you have to follow those rules? Well, I don't want your life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think that anybody's attracted to the major rebel who's just trying to always be, like, do shock value stuff.
Right.
Like, you're kind of like, oh, they're kind of just risky and they make me feel untrusting. But then do I really trust that they're perfect and angelic? I don't trust that either. Just being you is what's important. And Sean is so good. He's told me for years, Sonny, just be you.
Yeah.
Be you when you speak, be you in the meeting, be you when you go to another setting. And that sounds good. And I was like, oh, that's really nice of him. But I didn't believe that being me was the answer.
Sure.
And as I'm more comfortable in my own skin, that I am loud and I say dumb stuff, or I have no filter, or I fall down, or I just like that. To know that that's who I am and it's okay to be that has actually, I think, helped people to see that must be her all the time, because she doesn't act perfect.
Right.
She doesn't pretend to be perfect. So that must mean to be a Jesus person, she can just be her full self. Well, I've been trying to figure out how to be my full self.
Exactly.
So it's almost like walking out who you actually are. And then some of the stuff that might not be perfect, that, you know, I probably won't share my worst moments with people, but I can share my not so great moments with people.
Yeah.
Because the humanity of that helps them realize you don't have to just become a church lady.
Exactly.
To love Jesus.
Right.
Yeah. The
timid person who just sits there and looks like, I don't need to say anything because if I say something, I don't want it to be wrong. And I agree with that completely. And if you're yourself, you're more likely to just be happy and just show. I've had coworkers tell me, yeah, you may, because I've voiced that concern with people, like, do people really understand that I'm a Jesus person? Because at work, I can be loud, I can be goofy, I'm humorous, but do they, because I'm like that, do they still see that I'm a Jesus person? And I've had a conversation with a coworker that now attends Life Church, and she said, that doesn't matter. The way that you talk when you're loud, or the way that you act when you're goofy, still reflects Jesus.
Yes.
So you being yourself is still bringing Jesus out of you. And if you are just trying to shy back and show people that, you know, this is what it's about, is to try to submit and be the quiet one, but that's not the right interpretation, and then Jesus doesn't flow out of that.
Right.
They're not going to feel that from you.
Well, and I think Jesus, he does equal joy. So if I'm joyful, then I'm representing what Jesus brings to me. Nowhere in the Bible, I mean, I know that people are thinking, blessed are the meek.
Yes.
But here's the deal. There's also a lot of verses that are saying, go and be bold and be the light, and by your works and your fruit and your joy, they'll know you're a Jesus person. So we camp on that, or religion may have said to us, you need to be meek and mild and wear a cardigan and a scarf around your head. Like, what?
Yeah.
No, that's actually not what it was saying. And if it ever said, don't adorn your hair, don't adorn yourself with jewelry and all of that. It's talking about a specific city in a specific time and addressing an issue.
Right.
So it's been taken out of context. So Joy actually tells people she's like got something that has filled a void that she doesn't have a void. So I want that.
Right.
Rather than, it's a total misconception that we need to be meek, mild, and a wallflower to love Jesus. Like, the more I love Jesus, the more bold and crazy I get.
Right.
And that's how you are.
Yeah.
And that's really, you're displaying that to your coworkers.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just makes it easier to talk about it and bring it up.
Yeah.
Because when they notice something, then you're like, well, I'm kind of like this. And then I get excited about talking about Life Church or life groups or other Jesus things that are happening in my life. So it's also a way to bring that out and invite people into, wow, that's really cool.
Yes. It's a little different than Bible thumping back in the day, right? Like, let me yell at you.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Right.
Hasn't really ever worked.
Right, exactly. I agree.
Sonny explains in this segment that many verses which point to being meek and mild, not wearing jewelry, not cutting your hair, have been taken out of context. God doesn't want you to change the characteristics that make you unique. He wants to change your heart, which will then enhance all the character he made you with. Sonny said just being you is what is important. Why does that matter? When we are trying to point people to Jesus, they will see you are human, just like them. You don't have to be perfect and change who you are. You are changing whose you are. What are 3 things people would say that describe you? Put that in the comments below. Those 3 things that you are thinking of, that's what people notice first about you, and that's what matters. Now let's get back to the question that Katelyn has for Sonny.
Going back to a husband and wife. So if I let my husband know, hey, this is something that I'm working on, that I know I've been kind of controlling lately, or I say those sarcastic comments like, I know how to pack a diaper bag. How can you not just know, like, oh, we're leaving the house, I know I need diapers, clothes, everything like that, and just try to just draw back, like, and say he is a good father and he'll get it eventually, just not when I'm standing above him.
Yes.
And telling him, this is how you're actually supposed to do things. But if I'm telling him I'm trying to be quieter and gentler towards him and allow him to grow, how do we kind of bring it around and ask him, I'm working on this, but I really also want you to shine too, and maybe you, I want you to kind of look into this more as how to be a leader. So not only am I working on myself, but I know there's places for you to grow, to be a leader, that also might help me to want to even submit more and to kind of bring it full circle. How do you go about have that conversation with your husband? I kind of want you to step it up a little bit and kind of learn how to be a better leader in a Christian Jesus family.
Well, I think actions speak louder than words. So I think before you just go have the conversation, although it's noble to say, I'm going to, the problem is if we haven't really fleshed out what those words will be, you can say things that are really demeaning. Like, I'm going to be more quiet so you can grow. Well, he needs respect. So what he's hearing is not the part about I'm going to be meeker and milder. He's hearing because you need to grow. He's going to hear everything with a finger pointed, especially if we've had a pattern of that. So even to this day, there are times I've texted Sean something and he's come back with, what do you mean? Kind of like it, and I'm like, oh, and I might have come off too harsh, or maybe he took it that way. So, I mean, we're 10 years into a really great marriage, 13 years or, and then we like reset, got help ourselves individually, and 10 years of like a really solid, we don't fight much, it's not a lot of drama, but there's still those times that he has to kind of ask me and I have to jerk back and go, how'd that come across? So, I mean, 10 years of action, there's still that that chance that you'll kind of rub him the wrong way.
Sure.
So I would say action first.
Okay.
So it's you don't stand over him with the diaper bag, and instead it's maybe he's leaving, you're like, hey babe, don't forget the clothes and diaper, which is kind of like, what would you say to your best friend?
Right.
Well, you'd say it that way.
Right.
So that's how you would remind him. Now because we have to remember past patterns, could go, yeah, you've already ragged on me 3 times about it. So now that's it. So he might react negatively, but you just go, I'm going to continue the pattern. It's not going to change in 1 week.
Right.
It could be 3 months and he finally goes, 1, you see him stepping up, and 2, he's just more in love or responsive to you. And then it's the conversation, or maybe he brings it up. Like, I don't know what you've been doing, or I don't know if that new friend of yours, but he may say something. Those are better opportunities to have a full out conversation than to sit him down.
Right.
Because again, we're not mom, so we're not going to sit him down.
Right.
We're gonna act. That's what we're gonna do.
Definitely. Yeah. I agree. I think that all ties into, just like you said, actions are louder than words.
Yeah.
And when you're good with words, that's tough.
Yeah,
You're like,
it is.
I could write this down and I could say this in such good ways and try to sound as gentle and as nice and as kind as I possibly can. And who wouldn't take this the right way? But do I want to be told how I'm not doing things well?
Oh.
I want to be showed how can I help in that area of my life where I'm not doing the best.
Actions are louder than words. Katelyn said when you are good with words, it can be tough not to use them. You might think what you are saying is going to be taken the right way, but if you have a pattern of demanding with your words, your action is going to have way more value. Have you ever had to bite your tongue, like so hard it hurt? I have. Time and time again, when I have made the decision to hold my words in the heat of anything, things always have played out more smoothly. The next time you find yourself in a situation where your words might not be the right answer, hold your breath, count to 10, bite on that tongue, and wait. Ask God first, what is the best action you can take before you speak? Let's watch this week's last segment and get right back into the conversation.
What I kind of wanted to get from this whole thing is just trying to be a gentler person, but still be yourself.
Oh yeah.
And still be able to love that part of yourself and not be self-conscious about being a bold, outwardly joyful extrovert that might seem overbearing, but that's not what I'm trying. I just have felt like, do I need to be meeker? But there are certain situations where, is it affecting my marriage? Is it affecting friendships? Am I acting like mom and stuff like that? But
well, I think there's a boldness spectrum,
right?
And then there's boldness in joy and positivity, and then this extreme is boldness in being a jerk and negative and being able to win a fight.
Right.
Okay, so you can be bold and you could go as a strength for joy and positivity or a weakness. Well, I would say always say the things and do the things that put you on that spectrum of joy and positivity.
Right.
Where you hold that boldness back is you chomp on your tongue when this side of the spectrum wants to come out. There are, I don't have a filter, but I've had to use a filter with my kids, my husband. I mean, if I literally was biting on my tongue, it would be bitten off by now.
Right.
And that is self-control. The Bible talks about self-control, long-suffering. Long-suffering is going, this is the 8th time I've said, fill the water pitcher when you put it back in. Actually, that's Sean's thing.
Yeah.
Typically, that would be a woman thing.
Shut the cupboard after you take something out, because I'm sick of walking in the kitchen and there's cupboards hitting me in the face. Yeah.
I've literally said under my breath exactly what I wanted to say to Sean, and there's a chance he could have maybe heard me, but he was already in the garage, and I'm like, okay, thank God that was under my breath, because sometimes I'm not even able to bite my tongue, and I say it under my breath, and I don't know if it makes me feel better. I'm still mad, but he it was never going to work out.
Right.
If he wasn't shutting the cupboard after 6 times, he's not going to shut it the 7th time. So it's like, why do I keep doing that? And then we just keep getting in a fight. So I think that spectrum of knowing to just let it go, be bold, joyful, all of that at work, all of that in front of your kids, your husband, let him want to be around you.
Right.
Because you bring the mood up.
Right.
But then chomp your tongue on this end of the spectrum. It is a daily and sometimes momentary decision on what you say, what you don't say.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you can tell when people have gotten there. You can tell when women only speak positively of their husband in front of others, or they only they brag about their children, but in a way that is so exciting for everybody to hear, not in a way where people just want to cut you off. You can definitely tell people that are working on and somewhat mastering on when I should stand back and when I should show that joy out to everybody.
Right. And there's another thing I was thinking about as you were talking about it, like my kids, even like the lecturings that I've done, that it's similar to with your marriage. Like if you're a lecturer, what you do is you lectured in your marriage, and then your kids start to grow up, and when they start to get older and they're making decisions, and they should make decisions on their own. If I'm a lecturer to my husband, we call that nagging.
Right.
I became a lecturer to my kids, we call that nagging. And basically we've filled our home with a whole lot of lecturing and nagging.
Yeah.
And then what happens, our husband comes home later from work, or leaves earlier for work, or tries to go on the road more if he travels, because it's just like, it's not a peaceful environment in my home. And then our kids do the same. And when they can drive, they're not home much. And then do they move to a different state?
Yeah.
Because what mom represents is lecturing / nagging. And that is what I don't want to happen. And so I chomp my tongue as much or more with my kids, because I want to disciple and teach them in every story they tell me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they're telling me stories.
Yep.
So if I don't lecture, they may continue to stay open with me. But that's a reflection of my marriage. I've learned how to do better, so now I mother better. So this is more of a win than just, oh, I should do this as a wife. No, I should do this as a human being.
Right.
Your best friend would not want to be around you if you nagged your best friend all the time. They wouldn't be your best friend.
No.
But we treat those in our home worse than we treat, because we're like, well, we're married or there are kids, so they'll love me anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most definitely that's the thought that happens, and you feel like you can be not on a tight leash with your tongue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where you feel like you can be comfortable, but like you're saying, that's where you actually want it to start. That's where you want to have that boundary, so that they see you in a certain light and they respect what you have to say when you are being bold.
Yes. I have a quote in my Jesus.Plus.Life book that I want to be famous in my own home, so that natural me just flows out naturally later, like outside of my home. But if my goal is to be really life-giving and joyful out there, but it starts out there, then when I come home, I'm just a tired mess. I'm a jerk.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want is my kids to go, my mom's a fraud. Now, my kids are teenagers right now, and they probably half the time are not a fan of me. If there's rules, or no, I can't, or no, you need a ride, I'm not taking you. We go through those things. But one thing I hope, I'm pretty sure my kids would not say about me is that I'm a fraud.
Be bold in the good things. Be an example. Are you one of the women Katelyn was referring to who only speaks positive of their husband and kids? If not, how can you start to work on that today? Be the person everyone wants in the room. You will have so much more influence and impact without having to yell and argue. We hope you were positively impacted by this week's conversation, and that you're able to walk away with something you can start doing to apply to your marriage, to your parenting, and to any other relationship you are in. Thanks for joining us today. Set your reminder for the same time next week, and we can't wait to have another cheery conversation with you.